I got locked up, and the things I saw in there, like I went in there like a scared little kid, and when I got in there, it was a shock because everyone else, because of my crime, everyone else was already big. They were swole. They were older, and it was like a shock. And the things that I had to do to survive in there, I couldn't be that little scared kid at the time. So I became something that I wasn't supposed to be because of the environment they put me in. So I just got lost in that whole cycle because it went from there to prison to the federal, and at that federal, I seen things that and had to do that no one should. But it's not because I wanted to. Nobody wants to do the things that we do in there. It's because we're forced to come home. We have to, because if we don't, then we're faced with the system whenever they decide to get a hold of our family that we're no longer here, right? And no one wants that. So we have to survive our environment, and we become products of our environment because there's nothing to help us cope when we come out. Because these days and years, people are incarcerated for like over 5, 10 years at times, and their mental is handicapped because they don't know how to survive and adapt in a bigger world because they put us in boxes that are closed off and fences. So there's nothing to help us. So you come home, and during that time, I said, I don't want to keep coming back and forth, right? Because being in federal prison woke me up completely because of the things in there. So I decided to get a job and everything. And I filmed a shooting at a at a game room, and that's what started all this. They chased me, ran me over, planted drugs on me. I tried to get 4 or 5 cops held accountable for what they did to me, and that's what kicked me off to start like, well, I'm gonna leave what I used to do behind me because I think this is bigger than me. Because if they're doing this to me, think about the people that didn't know their laws, their rights, that they can film or whatever, what they did to them. And during the course of these 3, 4 years that I've been doing this, I've seen so many stories and heard so many people that didn't know, and the way they did them is worse because no one speaks up for them. And that's why I'm so adamant about being the voice of the people in my area, in my neighborhood, because we're all minorities, because to us, we're always less than. And that's why I took it to learn as much as I did. So I can be hated or loved or whatever is, as long as they listen to what I'm saying, because this is what I learned about what I've been doing. People will go out of their way to prove you wrong. And when they're proving you wrong, they prove it right. So now they become one of the people that look at it from a different angle now. So it's a win-win for me. You know what I'm saying? So I took what I learned from bad situations, ugly neighborhoods. My whole life is just a whole, I'm not even supposed to be here, And the fact that I took what I did and turned it into helping my community and people in my neighborhood, that's why I'm not liked in certain circles. That's why people stay away from me, or they won't be seen around me because I'm bad for bad people's politics. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be a certain type of politician to survive in Fort Worth, because if you don't, then you're ostracized just like me. They send out letters, memos. This is the bad guy, stay away from him. But all I did was figure out their game, you know. And they thought I was gonna play checkers with them all the time, and I started with a chessboard. That's all I've ever said to them. Respect me, and this would have never happened if they would have respected me, and they wouldn't, because I'm Mexican. I'm in a poor neighborhood, and I've never mattered to them because they've always said they don't want you here. Every time I've gotten arrested or thrown out of a public building, that's all they've ever said to me. They don't want you here. So this is my way of saying, well, no one cares about y'all, they, because us, we, the ones that don't matter to y'all, are bigger than y'all. And all I'm doing is pissing them all off so they can finally say, why does he have to speak for us? Eventually, I'm going to become irrelevant. And the people that were oppressed are going to be the ones that are talking. So good luck to them. I'm not going to let no one take my life. I'm not going to let, and this is what I mean. They put you in a box. where tension, we're in there fighting over showers, chairs, TVs, areas. They make us think that we're in control of these little areas, but we're not. They just put us in a little box and let us do whatever we want because eventually they're going to want us to take each other out, right? Because once somebody with intelligence comes along and tries to tell everybody what they're doing is wrong because they're just sitting there watching us laughing while we're fighting each other, doing horrible things to each other. They're just sitting there laughing at us. And that's the system that everybody talks about, but no one really wants to talk about because people that come out, they have a certain code, right? Certain races, they have certain codes of what you can and can't say, and us being Mexicans or Hispanics or whatever want to claim, Chicanos, we have that code. A lot of things we see and doing there we're not supposed to say. So that's why us as people, we're not like, there's not a voice for us because we've always been accustomed to being like passive, to where bad things happen to us, but it's life because our whole family and our whole generation came from struggles. That's all we're built on. That's why we're one of the most strongest race there is. That's why there's so many of us. Like, that's why we keep coming back and keep coming back because we find ways to adapt and survive to any situations we're put in, whether it be poverty, whether it be incarceration, whether it be in low housing, high crime areas. We survive them. And it's like, we can't say, what about us? Because we've never said it before. And for me,